Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm playing with this stamp set from Altenew called Pattern Play, and it's really fun because it has a really big background pattern and then little elements that you can stamp inside the pattern to create a colorful pattern, or not colorful if you choose to only use one or two colors. So I'm taking some Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is in 80 pounds. And I put that inside my MISTI tool, and then I'm stamping that pattern down, and I'm really pressing down onto that stamp so that I get a good impression. And I did use some Simon Says Stamp black ink for this. And now I'm going to take a bunch of other Simon inks, and I'm going to stamp kind of a colorful rainbow of hexagons. So I'm using the small hexagon stamp from that stamp set. And the first color I'm using is Dull Pink. It's a nice, vibrant pink color. And this first stamping, this first color that I stamped, the black lines that I stamped earlier were still a little bit wet. They were dry to the touch, but adding another ink on top it just reactivated it a little bit. So I did have to clean off my stamps in between. But when I moved on to orange peel, I no longer had to clean my stamps in between each individual stamping. I was able to stamp that entire row of orange peel and then clean off the stamp and move on to the next color. Speaking of, the next color is going to be Sunshine. It's a nice kind of more toned golden yellow. It's not super, super bright, so it goes well with the other colors that I've chosen for today. So I'm stamping each one of these hexagons going all the way up, and as you notice, sometimes when I stamp, it's not perfect. You'll see a little bit of a white gap between the color stamp and the black line, but that's totally okay because almost every single area on this entire background piece is going to be stamped twice. It'll have a lot of overlap. Speaking of, I'm overlapping the yellow with the color Jelly Bean, and then I'm going to switch to a nice bright blue color. This is Island Blue, and I love the Island Blue color, but it's so bright and intense that I don't use it very often. So I was super excited that I could use it in today's card. I love how the Jelly Bean color and the Island Blue overlap, and it makes that beautiful emerald green shade. I think it's really, really pretty. So then I moved on to Hydrangea, and this is almost a more bluish purple. It's not like a super vibrant purple. It's a little more on the blue side, but I thought it looked really nice, and it would be a good transition between the really bright cyan color of the Island Blue and then moving into that dull pink shade. I thought that would have a nice transition. So I did rotate my piece so that I could continue stamping to that other corner. And then I went over and stamped that dull pink area once more because of all of my ink pads that I have from Simon, this is the only one that is slightly drier than the rest, and I think it's because I adore this color and I use it a ton. So I've had this ink pad for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now, and I'm just now considering getting a new pad. So to finish off this background, I'm going to do a glitter spray. So I'm putting my background piece in a box so that it'll contain all that spray. And I'm using glitter dust from Thermoweb. This is the iridescent shade. I showed you guys the silver shade a few weeks back, and I loved and adored it. So I had to go out and buy the other shades they had available. So if you want to see how I used it in that other video, I'll have that linked up in the top corner, and you can check it out. It was a video on how to make your own shimmer paper. So I really love how this looks. It gives a nice sparkle and shine to the cardstock. And because I did spray it on rather liberally, I will have to help it dry a little bit. I'm using the Script Words, the die set from Altenew as well, but I set that aside for a minute while I finished drying my background because I realized it wasn't quite dry. It was dry enough to the touch that I could move around, like pick it up, but it was still a little bit tacky, so that's how you can tell that that glitter spray isn't dry yet. So then I cut down this background piece just a tiny bit. I took about 1/8 of an inch off each side, and I did that so that I would have these little tiny strips of color that I could use to create a second card. So I'm going to get 2 cards out of this one background. So I'm using the Hugs die from that Script Word die set. I'm going to run that through my Big Shot machine, and then I can use that positive space that just says hugs. I can also use that outer space with all that pattern stamping. So I use my Tim Holtz craft pick to just get that out of the die. And then I created my card bases. So I'm making 2 cards, like I mentioned. The first card is going to have a white card base. So this is some Neenah Solar White in the 110-pound version. And I just scored that at 5.5. I'm using my Score Buddy, including the Score Buddy bone folder, to do that. And then I use some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock, and this is the 100-pound version. So I scored that at 5.5 as well, and then folded it down. So as far as the really big pattern piece goes, I added a ton of foam tape. I don't want any of these areas sagging on the card, so I added little itty bitty bits of foam even up into the word area. Then I pressed that down onto my white card base, and I pressed that down with all of my fingertips to make sure it adhered in all those places. It was a really big surface area. Then I took the little tiny inner pieces on the G and also the H and put a little foam square on the back and then placed those inside the words. I then used my tweezers to hold on to the positive piece of the die cutting, and I used some Ranger Multimedia Matte adhesive and just dabbed on little tiny dabs of glue, and then used my tweezers to place this die cut on the front of my card base. So I'm going to press that down with my fingertips. And then I'll take that little tiny narrow strip that I created by cutting off the sides of that multicolored rainbow stamped piece. And I'll hold that with my tweezers while I apply some adhesive and then press that down onto the card front. And I'll just put that in place. So now I'm going to work on the inside of the card and also the greetings. So this beautiful inside stamp set is spectacular. There's lots of great like bold greetings that are shorter, and then they have like a larger kind of multi-line paragraph text that you can put on the inside of your cards. I think it's really, really smart, and they're written so well and so heartwarming. They're really good sentiments. I think everyone should have this stamp set in their stash. So I'm using the Just Because greeting, and I've stamped that onto some Licorice Twist black cardstock from Bazzill. I did prep the area with a powdered anti-static powder tool and then stamped it in Versamark ink. And then I did some white embossing powder over top. Now I just realized that this whole technique with the black cardstock with the white sentiment strip is exactly what I showed in my last video. So I must have just been on a kick when I was filming all of these, but it works really well paired with a larger die cut greeting, so that worked out well. So I trimmed those pieces down and adhered them with foam tape, and then to finish off this other card I did a dash line with a black pen. And then I took my We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper and I just chomped that top left corner with a 1/2 inch rounder. Haven't done that technique in a long time, but I just really felt the need to do that this time. So now I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm stamping those greetings on the inside of the cards. And these are some good examples of the types of greetings you're going to get in that stamp set. I really encourage you to click over to the Altenew website or over to my blog where you can see the greetings on this stamp set. I think it's really, really beautiful. So I stamped the larger one on the inside of the white card, and then for the craft card I did a little bit of a shorter one, but I think both sentiments and both greetings on the inside of the cards are just absolutely perfect. So these cards are actually part of a blog hop for Altenew, so make sure you head over to my blog to hop along and see a bunch of other inspiration as well. Thanks so much for watching today, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.